Now, we are talking drink spiking after journalist and presenter Kate McCann. She revealed over the weekend that she had been a victim while at a bar.
Even though I'd only had a sip, it became clear about 20 minutes or so later that I started to feel quite strange. I felt very hot, just didn't feel right. Went to the loo and I couldn't focus. I couldn't sit straight. I couldn't stand straight. I couldn't really see. Luckily managed to book an Uber, managed to get in the car and made my way home. But I don't remember that car journey. I suspect I wasn't awake for it. And I don't remember getting into the house. And I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning on the floor in my bathroom.
It's terrifying. Well, between 2022 and 2023, 6,732 spiking incidents were reported to the police. However, the true figures are thought to be an awful lot higher because it just doesn't get reported enough. Joining me now, Dr. Hilary, alongside campaigner Sharon Gaffka, who was left unconscious after her own drink was spiked. And Sharon, you can relate very much to what Kate was saying because you were just out for you had one drink.
Yeah, I was out for lunch, just innocently with my friends, broad daylight in a restaurant that we used to go to quite a lot. And basically, well, listening to Kate's story, she had one sip and that happened to her. I'd finished the drink that I had. So, you know, I wasn't able to book myself an Uber and get home. I went to the bathroom straight away, locked the door, and that was it. That was it for me.
What, you just passed out?
Yeah.
In the loo?
I felt like something was really, really wrong.
Yeah.
And you can start to... I was losing kind of feeling in my limbs. I look back at photos that my friends and I had taken. My face was very misshapen, it kind of looked a little bit like I was having a stroke because my face was kind of falling to one side. My eyes were very blank, and I just said to my friends, I don't feel well. And I think I just knew I was unsafe, and I just went to the bathroom, locked the door, and I came out in an ambulance, basically.
Sharon, that's absolutely horrendous. When you got taken to the hospital, I mean, was spiking ever at the forefront of anybody's mind? You know, I just wonder how you were treated at the hospital. Did they just think you'd had too much to drink?
When I was in hospital because of COVID, it was just me, like none of my friends were allowed in.
Of course.
So I actually didn't consider what happened to me. I think the first thought was, I don't know how I got here, but are my friends also here or are they okay? And I didn't have any of my belongings. And I remember being taken out of the ward to the reception area where my friend was waiting, and she was quite visibly distressed and upset. And she was asking everyone what had happened to me, where they'd taken me, what they'd done with me. I remember having cannulas fitted, drips fitted, blood tests taken, and constantly being asked, like, if I knew what my name was and where I was, and I couldn't answer. And then they just discharged me and told my friend to take me home.
That is terrifying. So nothing could be done, really, because the thing about this is it doesn't leave a trace, does it? You know, you have to act very quickly, and sometimes it's not, like I said, it's not at the forefront of your mind.
No, for me, I didn't actually want to confront it or speak about it or think about it until 2 weeks later, in which case it's definitely too late to do any testing.
Of course.
But I phoned the hospital that treated me. I asked one of the head nurses, you know, what had happened, what you tested me for. They basically tried to fob me off, saying that if I thought I'd been drugged, I should have gone to the police and not to A&E. If I arrived unconscious, then I'm not able to make that decision. And then also who gives consent for someone to test me if I go to the police. And that they promised to send a letter to my GP, and we never received one.
Gosh, it makes it very, very hard for you, because it's hard anyway. You know, it's a really difficult thing to do. Hilary, it's on the increase, as we saw
very
there.
Much so.
It's really, really scary. And all the onus seems to be on, you have to protect yourself, you know, the thing about not leaving your drink behind, all of these things.
Sure.
But it's realising... It must be so that lack of control must be so frightening.
Well, a U poll suggested a much higher figure than the ones reported to the police, some 11% of women and 6% of men. That's a huge number.
That's massive. So
it's very much on the increase. And clearly there is a responsibility to look after yourself, because the self-testing kits aren't really there yet. I mean, they do exist, but they would only detect, you know, really concentrated forms of a drug.
Right.
You know, can you look after your drink all the time? You know, 100% of the time? It's unlikely in a busy bar or a busy club. So it's difficult. So the risk, I mean, Kate's experience, she got into a Uber and passed out. So she might have got into any car, not just a Uber. Really, so she was really at high risk, and she's good to report that. But all women are at risk, and all men are at risks like this. And we do need to be able to prosecute more people. So we need more cameras in clubs and places like that. We need trained staff better. And obviously there needs to be a greater education and awareness generally. But it is difficult to pick up these drugs. It's difficult to find prosecutions because who's done it? You know, it's difficult to know who's done it, who's watching you from afar, having spiked your drink.
And why they're doing it. I mean, you know, before it used to be that it was with intent to sexually assault a woman or a man. That's clearly what they were trying to do. But now it seems like it's just kind of random. You know, it's just like, and that's,
absolutely.
in a way, even more scary.
A lot of people say this, it's particularly random. And so what do you need to be aware of if you feel like you've been spiked, if you feel disorientated, if you feel drowsy, if you're losing coordination of your limbs, if you can't communicate easily, if you're becoming paranoid or getting hallucinations, tell somebody that you trust straight away. Don't wait, don't feel any shame. Tell somebody that you trust so that you're in their company until they know that you're safe. And if necessary, you phone the police on 101.
If you're able.
And hopefully the police will do a drugs test. But, you know, you can do an alcohol test easily. You know, a paramedic could get you to blow into a device and say, is it alcohol or is it something else? Don't just assume it's alcohol.
That's the thing as well, isn't it, Sharon? We need more awareness. It's a cultural thing as well. This is becoming almost kind of like, not acceptable, of course it's not acceptable, but we need to change people's attitudes towards this. I mean, what's going on where people are doing this to other people?
I think there's a refusal to believe that it exists or that it's still happening. People, I've seen comments saying that, oh, it's just hysteria because it's in the media again, but actually, you know, I've had 2,000 people come to me with stories and they've been happening for decades. It's not just a new phenomenon. And I think that, you know, my brother's a healthcare professional and he says the point is that when you're a healthcare professional, you treat the person, not their circumstances. But I felt like I was hugely judged based on my circumstances. I kind of felt like I was a silly little girl, irresponsible, that I didn't do all of the things that my mum and dad had told me to do growing up. And the part with education is if people are randomly spiking people, they're doing it for fun, but why are they doing it? It's because they're not educated to know that there's really serious consequences for that individual. And when we're talking about education, you know, it's nothing against my parents, but, you know, my brother and I have very similar circumstances, except that I was told I shouldn't go out at a certain time, I shouldn't leave my drink unattended, I should do this, I should... But my brother never had that conversation. And are we having the same conversations with young men when they're growing up as we are having with young women about what they shouldn't be doing or should be doing? Probably not.
I mean, people could die with this, you know? I mean, it's horrendous. It really is absolutely horrendous. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. It's awful. But what you're doing is fantastic, that you're highlighting it, you're campaigning, because there absolutely needs to be a change of attitudes. And, of course, we have to be more aware, all of us, when we're out. But what a sad situation that you can't go out for a lunchtime drink with your mates without feeling vulnerable. It's terrible. Thank you both very much. Hilary, thank you, as always.